It's Live 107.3. Lee here with you. And as a TNA wrestling fan, the month of April has served up treat after treat. Not only the weekly action that we see each and every week on the flagship show Impact, but last week we saw TNA return to Las Vegas for Unbreakable. This weekend, we're heading to the Sunshine State of California as Rebellion takes place. And speaking of sunshine, one man who has the sun shining on him right now is the brand new, the inaugural TNA International Champion. It is Steve Maclin. I'm delighted to say he joins me right now. Steve, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. How are you doing this morning?
I'm great. I'm excited. I'm excited because we know we have Rebellion streaming live on TNA Plus this weekend. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But if I may go back just over a week ago to TNA Unbreakable, the return of the event which celebrated one of TNA's most iconic matches, and also an event that celebrated history being made as the TNA crowned its first ever international champion. Now, you made it through a qualifier and a final. When you look at it, you actually defeated five other people on the same night on your way to making history and claiming that title as your own. Now, first off, Steve, how difficult was it to prepare for last week, knowing you'd have to win twice in such short succession against a range of opponents that really were one extreme to the other?
It's a test to just mental strength more than physicality, I would say, just because you're going into a night, you have to work multiple times against a lot of people that are hungry for an inaugural championship of being the TNA International Champion. And I'll tell you, it feels really good, but it also felt really good of beating good competitors, especially in the qualifier that I had with Ace Austin and Eddie Edwards, two guys that I respect, even though Eddie and I, we don't agree on a lot of things of how he runs in the system. But he's decorated. He has history in TNA. He's the heartbeat and the heart and soul kind of in that way of what TNA has been. And then you also have Ace Austin with going everything with that he's dealt with Chris Bay and just having to overcome that adversity of being in a tag team and your partner goes down now trying to find things on your own. And that was one of the matches I was looking forward to. So to beat those two in the qualifier at the beginning of the night meant a lot. And then against going against Eric Young and AJ Francis in the main event and trying to live up to that history of Unbreakable and one of the most historic triple threat matches of all time of Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe, and AJ Styles. Um, it it was a lot of pressure on me, and I know it was probably a lot of pressure on the others as well. But I think in the end, with how late at the end of the night we got there, and for all the circus of the whole weekend in Las Vegas going around, I thought it was what it was meant to be at the end of the night was me being bulletproof Steve Maclin standing tall as your first ever TNA International Champion.
It was truly amazing. It was truly amazing to watch, Steve. And we're talking about the magnitude of this. Has it really sunk in? Because I know obviously the past week in Vegas and everything else, it has been a wrestling fest, everything that's been going on. Have you actually been able to stop for a moment, to take your breath and actually realize what this means?
I don't think I've stopped yet and had that breath just because I knew at the end of the night I'm the first inaugural champion, but then I have 1 week until Rebellion where
Mm.
I'm facing the person that didn't get pinned in the match, which happened to be Eric Young. So for Eric and I to have the match at Rebellion now, I think that'll be the culmination of when I can finally have that moment. Even though I am champion, it feels great. I'm not taking my eye off of what's at stake still, and that's against one of the most decorated and the guy that likes to say that he's the one above all in TNA, above the office, above everybody, and he's truly done it all. And Eric Young is the lifeblood and heartbeat of what TNA has been from the forefront till now with the rebirth of the rebrand. But I think we're looking into the future, and that's kind of where we're at. And Rebellion is showing you what the future is, and that is me coming on top, bulletproof Steve Maclin, as your TNA International Champion.
All I was to say, you mentioned there, come to Rebellion this Sunday night. It is live on TNA Plus. You can experience it for yourself. If you're not already a TNA Plus subscriber, now is the time to do it. Head online, watch.tnawrestling.com, sign up. You can get 1 month free using the code Say His Name. Do that right now, and you will see a whole night of action, including this international title defense. And Steve, how do you actually get set for this? Because I mean you're in great shape. You've said psychologically you're good to go into this match, but you must know that Eric Young is not going to be coming at this thing alone. He has got members with him of the Northern Armory. You've had issues with them, the whole group. Let's be honest. You know there's a high chance of there being some shenanigans going into this. You've got to know it's not one man you're facing. It's going to be three. Does that change any of your game plan heading into this Sunday at Rebellion?
It's on my mind, but like you said before, I beat 5 other people just to become the international champion in one night. So if I could deal with five, I think I could deal with three. But for the man that EY is, I think man to man, I think he knows what's at stake, and that is the TNA International Champion, the respect that he has for TNA, and the respect that we have for each other as well. I think that will kind of be the test of this, is showing who he truly is at the end of the night, whether it is alone or if he ends up having the Northern Army involved. So be it. We'll figure that out when it comes there. But I know I'm coming out on top. I promise you, whatever you throw at me, I am going to capitalize on anything you ever try to throw on me. That's always ever done. That's why I am bulletproof Steve Maclin.
I think what's really interesting, Steve, about that when you look at the championships that TNA wrestling has and has been famed for over its over 20-year lineage. Also, we've got the TNA World Championship right now held by Scotland's own Joe Hendry. We have the X Division title as well. People say it's really what stands things out. The opportunity to make the International Championship as prestigious and mean as much as those other titles really has to be a massive opportunity, which I know you're looking forward to be relishing for. But how do you think you can actually set that standard? Because obviously an amazing world championship run early in your TNA career, and now you have this. How do you think you can make the Steve Maclin inaugural reign of international championship be the go-to and set that standard for this title in its future?
I said it at the end of the night at Unbreakable of when Santino came to me with the opportunity to be in this tournament and to be crowned the first inaugural TNA International Champion. I looked at that as a challenge right away, just because it's like it's brand new. It's something I can introduce to the world, and what better way than myself to do that and to build it off of my back and carry that weight and to take it around the world. Hopefully I can do that with through independence, but also TNA trying to get across over in the UK, all over Europe, and just globally being around the world. It would be great to be able to defend this. But even bringing international or international talent in to TNA on television and defending it against international talent itself is my goal, because it's an international title. Why wouldn't I be facing people from all over the world of France, Italy, Scotland, England, Australia, Japan, China? I don't care where you come from or what your background is. That is the goal for me, is to make this title mean more than anything in the company right now. I said it was going to be a workhorse title, and that's what I plan for it to be.
We cannot wait to see how this defense goes this Sunday night. I am talking with Steve Maclin. Do not go anywhere.
This Sunday, which gets underway at 7 p.m. Eastern, live and free on TNA social and digital platforms and TNA Plus. It's the countdown to Rebellion. This has just been made official after Xia Brookside and Laying Lee protected Rosemary earlier on tonight. Those three will team up against NXT's Fatal Influence on the countdown to Rebellion. Also, last week on Impact, Elijah issued an open challenge to anyone from anywhere to step up in Los Angeles. Who will walk with Elijah on the countdown to Rebellion?
And then Rebellion itself begins live at 8 p.m. Eastern on pay-per-view and TNA Plus.
And Moose steps into Ultimate X to defend his X Division title against Matt Cardona, Leon Slater, El Hijo del Vikingo, Casey Navarro, and Sidney Aki.
It'll be Mike Santana versus Mustafa Ali at Rebellion Falls Count Anywhere.
And the TNA Knockouts World Tag Team titles will be decided in a four-way match. Ash and Heather by Elegance defend against Flash Legend and Jakara Jackson, Spitfire, and NXT's Gigi Dolan and Tatum Paxley.
Also, the inaugural TNA International Champion, Bulletproof Steve Maclin, defends against Eric Young of the Northern Armory.
And that is all capped off by the historic triple main event, which features the Knockouts World title, Masha Slamovich defending against Tessa Blanchard.
Also, the Hardys defend the TNA World Tag Team titles against Nick and Ryan Nemeth.
And the world title will be on the line in a triple threat match as Joe Hendry defends against Ethan Page and Frankie Kazarian.
It's Made in the Morning here on Live 107.3. Lee with you right the way through until 9 o'clock this morning. We are getting set for TNA Rebellion. It comes your way this Sunday night exclusively on TNA Plus. If you haven't already subscribed, now is the time to do it. Head online, watch.tnawrestling.com, use the phrase "say his name," and you can get 1 month free. Lots of action this Sunday night, including the first defense of the TNA International Championship. It is going to be defended by my guest at this time, Bulletproof Steve Maclin. Steve, you still with me, my friend?
I'm still with you right here.
Fantastic, fantastic. Steve, we mentioned before the international title. One thing that you were very keen to do, very passionate before we had that break, was look to defend this title across the globe against some of the biggest performers, some of the best performers that you can find. And I just want to probe a little bit more onto that, if I may, because obviously just shy of 3 weeks ago, you were actually over here in the UK, just a stone's throw away from myself, actually down in Carlisle, helping Target Wrestling celebrate their 10th anniversary. Do you think we will get the opportunity to see you defend that TNA International Championship on some of those international events, such as with Target, maybe with Destiny up in Edinburgh? Do you think that's what we can expect to see you doing?
That's my plan. I said it at Future Shock at the end of the night that if I was going into the pay-per-view trying to win this international champion, then I made a promise that when I do win this title, and I did win the TNA International Championship, that I would be back over there to defend the title, and I hope to defend it all over the world. So to all the promotions over in the UK, all over Europe, all over the world, all over the globe, even in the States here, it's an opportunity to just put the TNA title of being the international championship on the map, but it's also getting who I am as the workhorse champion that I plan to be and making this the workhorse title, and that's against all comers.
What do you think it is, Steve, that has made TNA the go-to international wrestling brand? There's others that are out there, I'm not going to lie, that are bigger and perhaps have got a bigger promotional juggernaut behind them. But wherever Steve Maclin goes, wherever Eric Young goes on the independent scene across the globe, those three letters, TNA, draw crowds and they draw people and they draw passionate wrestling fans. Why do you think it is those three letters actually draw wrestling fans internationally?
I think it's the name of being for 20 plus years now, of being around. And for what TNA was when it first started was an alternative to WWE. When WCW was gone, ECW was gone, TNA became the new place for the new faces and the old faces to kind of go. And everybody wanted to see what was new out there. And they got it with the X Division at that time. And that was something that sparked a lot of intrigue from a lot of fans, including myself, of watching like a Samoa Joe, a Christopher Daniels, AJ Styles, Frankie Kazarian, Eric Young. I can keep the Motor City Machine Guns. I can keep going on with the whole list of everybody that was there. But it's also the same thing now where you're getting all these new fresh faces that are coming in, like myself and Ace Austin, Leon Slater, a Jason Hotch. Like there's talent that is there that is still trying to get their name out there, and people are just starting to realize how good they are. And even Chris Bay before his injury, like he's one of those talents that that's somebody I want to work with because he's got so much to bring in a different style to this generation. And I think that's what intrigues a lot of people to watch TNA and still chant those three letters at every show we're at of TNA. And globally, it's one of the shows that was watched, I know, in the UK more than it was in the States at one point because we were on basic cable over there at one time. So it just shows the fan base and the love and the loyalty that fans do have. And that's the one cool thing is the loyalty that TNA fans are.
How did you feel as a fan and as a performer when you found out about the change from Impact to TNA? Because I think going back and actually watching this on TNA Plus, I still get goosebumps watching the end of Bound for Glory and the Hab. So what was it like for yourself as a performer in the locker room?
It was so like we're sitting there and everybody's kind of like getting cameras ready to watch everybody in the background and then watching the monitor. And I'm just sitting there. I look at my wife. I was like, "We're about to become TNA," and she goes, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Just watch." And I didn't know, but it was just like one of those tells in wrestling because I've just been doing this long enough to like kind of see things behind the scenes and how people are interacting. I'm like, and then people were kind of like, "Oh, there's something big happening tonight." I'm just sitting there, I'm like, "What?" I was like, "I don't see anybody under a curtain or anything being hidden, or there was nothing like that." And then when it did happen, it was just like, "Oh, okay, cool." My instincts were right, but it was it was a really cool moment. I remember at the time looking at Scott Demore, like, "Oh, it's pretty fucking cool." And then just to be part of TNA, which I never thought in my career that I would be. I thought I was a lifer in WWE at the time, just because that's where my goal was at the time, because TNA wasn't ever a factor in my head. But to now be a former world champion, to be the inaugural TNA International Champion, the first one ever, and now I'm forever etched in history in TNA,
Mhm.
is it's really cool to just be a part of, because I never saw it coming, and it's awesome. It's just a cool feeling.
It's a great feeling, and do you know what? I'm very privileged to be able to be in a position like this where I get to speak to yourself and other TNA performers on a pretty regular basis. And whenever I ask the question of what was it like to make that change when you found out the passion and the excitement that comes in people's voices, and just watching here, so we were doing this on Zoom, you can tell that's genuine. And one thing that also strikes me is the fact that, and you'll understand this way I say it, nobody in TNA seems to think of TNA as work. It's something you enjoy. It's something that comes naturally. Is that the feeling? Is that feeling that I get true of the locker room?
it's it's always that underdog story I feel with our locker room. No matter what, we're always feeling like the underdog. We're always feeling like we have something to prove. And I think that's the cool thing from top to bottom in the locker room. Whether you have someone like Eric Young who's been with TNA forever and has been a name with it, or you get to a young talent like Jason Hotch or Leon Slater that just are starting now making their name, and to get to show the world, like, everybody's got that hunger and that drive and that motivation to just make TNA better. And that's the one family oriented good thing about TNA, is it's family oriented in the locker room. As much animosity we have on screen, behind the scenes, we're all kind of there to take care of one another and make sure that we're giving the fans the best show possible. And that is what TNA wrestling is all about. It's always been about.
TNA really does love the fans, and what I love about TNA Plus is the fact you can go back and you can catch up so many amazing moments from its over 20 plus years on there. Whether it's I read Bound for Glories, whether it's Crazy Days from the Asylum, whether it's the Hogan Bischoff era, all that different stuff that's going on. But if people are only now, perhaps Steve, discovering TNA wrestling with coming off the back of everything that's been going on in the past 18 months, maybe they're just stepping in for the first time, where should they be looking on TNA Plus to find the match or the matches that explain who Steve Maclin is, leaving out what we've seen this past week at Unbreakable?
Uh, I would say my match with winning the world title against Kushida at Rebellion 2 years ago. That is obviously it's a crowning achievement for me, and
Mhm.
also it was a very special night as well to win the title the same night my wife did as well. Which is it's a very cool moment in history for me. My match at Under Siege 2 years ago as well with PCO. I thought that was a match that just embodied everything that I love about pro wrestling, and it's very brutal, very bloody, but I promise you won't be disappointed. And then I'm proud of it as well as my match with Nick Nemeth. I think that's one that's kind of forgotten about. When he first got there, I was one of the first challengers he had at was it Sacrifice last
Sacrifice.
year? I think it was
Yeah.
Sacrifice is the last year. And then even Rebellion last year with Mike Santana making his return. For me, that meant a lot because he had a lot to prove coming back in and coming back from his story that he's told.
Mhm.
If you don't follow him, please follow him and know his story. I would assume you all do. If not, you can go back on the TNA Plus app and watch. But those are some of the ones I can think offhand right now that I'm very proud of. And then even my storyline with Josh Alexander. If you watch Josh and I's feud from the beginning, all the way from when he relinquished the title, from tearing his tricep till the day he left, of being a quitter in TNA, it's something I'm very proud of.
You mentioned there that amazing match you had with Nick Nemeth. I think also if you head online as well to TNA Plus, you can actually watch a great TNA Immersed as well, which actually shows you behind the scenes of everything that was going on that day, and it really does go to show the story and the development behind you, both in going into that event, but also shows the amazing range of programs and documentaries that are available on that TNA Plus app, which is well worth going. Steve, I know time is almost against us. A couple of things I would still like to ask you. Firstly, you're the TNA International Champion. We've already mentioned the fact we would love to see you defend that title across the globe at independent shows like Target or Discovery. But do you think, now that we have an international championship, we could see TNA touring back over here in the UK anytime soon?
I get this question asked all the time, and I ask the same question all the time to the office. When are we going to the UK? When are we getting over to the fans that have been so loyal and so different from everywhere else? And it's something I hope is going to happen at some point. I can't give you that answer. That's on the tweets. That's on everything social media, or on X, I should say, not tweets, Twitter. It's X now. But all of your that's just on social media power. And if everybody gets behind and pushing this idea of getting back over to the UK, it's something that I hope happens, because that's something I would love to do, especially being the international champion and coming over to there, that fan base, because it's just a different vibe and a different feel. And I can't explain what that is. It's just, as a performer, it's a very different vibe and cool feeling, because just it's a different fan base, but it's a lovable, loyal fan base.
We cannot wait to have you back here where you can defend that title on UK soil. So the last thing we would like to do, Steve, I'd like to do this with every member of the TNA roster if I get the opportunity. I have got in front of me a list of 5 names of TNA superstars. I would like to, if you're up for this, you to give me the first thing that jumps into your head when I say these names. Are you up for this?
Sure, I guess I am.
All right, so name number 1, Mustafa Ali.
Politician.
Number 2, Tessa Blanchard.
Pass.
Number 3, Joe Hendry.
I believe.
Number 4, Masha Slamovich.
Tough as nails.
And name number 5, the voice of TNA Wrestling, Mr. Smooth himself, Tom Hannafin.
Squeak. He'll know what that means. That's my PG version of saying that.
You can see Steve Maclin defend his TNA International Championship this Sunday night at Rebellion exclusively on TNA Plus, where you can also see brand new episodes of TNA Impact every week and over 20 years of total non-stop action. Sign up for TNA Plus right now. Get 1 month free with the promo code Say His Name. Head on over to watch.tnawrestling.com for all the details. Steve, thank you so very much for taking the time. We wish you all the best in your defense this weekend. And as I said, and I'll reiterate, we hope to see you here in the UK defending that title very soon. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.